Basic watercolour brush strokes, that's what we're doing in this video. Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Michelle, and on this channel you'll find all things watercolour as well as a little bit of motivation and mixed media training too. Please do consider subscribing. If you click the bell icon, you can get notified every time I have a new video for you. I make one free video a week here on YouTube on a Thursday with extra content on Saturdays for my Patreon subscribers. So in this video, I'm going to be taking you through 7 basic watercolour brush strokes. Now this is perfect for beginners. This is part of my Start Watercolour Painting series, but if you are a little bit more experienced, you'll still find it useful. Now, in order that this tutorial is completely accessible to beginners, we're going to be only using really 2 basic brush types, a flat brush and a round brush, and 1 or 2 scruffy old brushes as well. So I'm going to take you through each brush stroke. I'm going to talk about how it's done, why it's done, what it's useful for, perhaps some variations on it, and I'm also going to show you how to do each brush stroke. So you can follow along with this at home if you would like to. So there are loads of different shapes of brushes that you can use for watercolour painting, but you only really need 2 to get started. So the first brush you need is one like this. This is what you would think of as a traditional watercolour artist brush, isn't it? And this is called a round brush. Now it's super confusing because it actually has a point. The round bit refers to the metal part here, the ferrule. This is where it's round, but it should have a good point on it when you buy it. This brush is a synthetic brush. Now you'll see when I'm painting with it, it's got the word sable written on the handle, but that's just because it was an early manufacturer's sample. It is actually a synthetic brush. I do not use animal hair brushes. And the second type of brush that you're going to find really useful for watercolour painting is a flat brush. Again, this is a synthetic brush and they come in different widths. Now, apart from those, we're going to use 1 or 2 old scruffy acrylics, toothbrush type things as well, just brushes that you've probably got laying around, or you can just use cheap brushes. So in a moment, I'm going to point the camera downwards and we'll walk through our 7 basic brush strokes. So the first brush stroke I'm going to show you is a tapered brush stroke. Now this is a brush stroke that starts wide and narrows out almost, it goes almost to nothing, to a fine point. And this is a brush stroke that's used so often during painting. You're going to use it for landscape painting, animals, people and botanicals. And this is because it's perfect for anything that grows, because things that grow tend to taper. I'm talking about hair, I'm talking about fur, grasses, leaves, even tree trunks. They all get narrower as they go outwards. So we're going to do this brush stroke upwards and outwards. You always want to start it from the base. It's one of the most fundamental brush strokes there is. Let me show you how it's done. So the paper I'm on today is Bockingford, and the paints I'm using, this is my Essentials set by Jackman's Art Materials. If you're interested in the paints, do pop into the video description. I'm just going to mix up a green for this first brush stroke because it's one that's really good for foliage, so let's use green. So I've got some Dairylide yellow and I've got some Phthalo blue green shade, and I've mixed a nice transparent dark green. So let's apply it to the paper. So we're going to press a bit as we start this stroke so that the bristles kind of splay out a bit, and then all you're going to do is just come up and lift off. We can do smaller ones. You've got this kind of flicking motion, and you can see that the brush stroke naturally narrows as it comes off the paper. A bigger brush will give you a larger stroke but should still give you a very fine point. There are other brushes you can use for this. There's one called a sword liner, which has almost a curved asymmetrical shape, and that will give you a stroke like this but with a much deeper belly and a much finer point. I tend not to use them. I tend to stick to very basic brushes. Another brush that you can get is this one here, which is a rigger. You can see it has a long, thin body to it. And this one will enable you to make slightly longer, slightly thinner lines. Originally used for ship's rigging. Some people do use these for grasses. Again, I tend to be really boring and just stick to the basic shapes, but there's a rigger that you can use there as well. And so when you're painting things like grasses and hair, it's really important to start at the base or the root and work up and out, rather than try and take your brush in the other direction and then you don't get that nice point at the end. So when you're doing these things that grow, always up and out, and just sweep your brush off the paper. So for our next brush stroke, I'm going to show you how to apply the paint in a random, broken, sort of spotted way, but not symmetrical. This is fantastic for anything with texture. So anything like brickwork, pathways, rooftops, anywhere at all, beaches, anywhere where you've got texture. It's even great for foliage too. I'm going to show you how to do it with one colour and also how to advance it and do it with two colours. So I'm going to start this technique with the same colour, and what we're going to do this time is we're going to dot and leave a broken edge. Now the problem with this is that the human brain is very logical and it wants to dot things evenly, it wants to make a pattern. So what I want you to practice is really dotting randomly, and this is great for things like trees. So let's start with the same green and we're going to dot like this, and you see how in some areas I'm just allowing it to join up so that we end up with this real random pattern. Now if you want to take it a step further, you can actually do it with two colours, so let's try that. So this time I'm going to use the same yellow and the same blue, but I'm not going to pre-mix them. So we'll start with some yellow. Just give my brush a little bit of a clean. And then we'll go in with some blue. So overall we're still going to end up with green, but it's going to be a much more nuanced, much more textured version that goes through the whole gamut of hues that exist within that yellow and that blue mixed together. You've got all sorts of versions of it within the same area. Absolutely fabulous technique for trees, bushes, shrubs, but can also be used for things like bricks and pathways and beaches. Next up, we've got a fundamental brushstroke, and that's a flat brushstroke. Now this doesn't have to be done with a flat brush. This is all about getting an area of smooth, flat colour. It's much harder than it looks. Let me show you how it's done. So let's look at this flat, smooth brushstroke. Now the easiest way to do this is of course with a flat brush, because we can take it across like this. We can just spread the paint. And here we have our flat area of colour. Really important to control this so that there aren't puddles left. And you can do that by dabbing your brush on a rag or piece of paper towel if ever it feels like there's too much paint on the paper. So a big flat brush is all very well for large areas, but what if you're painting in a much smaller area and you still need this smooth effect? That's when you're going to change back to your round brush, and then you can use the round brush to spread the paint evenly over any little area or shape that you need to. Again, be careful not to leave puddles. When you have puddles, you have uneven drying, and when you have uneven drying, you will end up with marks and back runs rather than this lovely smooth effect. And this colour is Permanent Rose. Next up, I'm going to show you a bit of an unusual brushstroke. So this is a brushstroke where we pick up two colours on the brush at the same time. It's generally done with a flat brush. It's generally an oil painting or a folk art technique, but it can also be done with watercolours. It's really pretty. Let me show you how it's done. So I've changed to a slightly smaller brush. This is still a flat brush. And what I'm going to do is to dip each corner of this brush into a different colour. Now, if you can imagine me doing that with this runny paint here, I dip one corner in the pink and the other corner in the green. It's so runny that the whole thing would just run together and it wouldn't work. So instead, I've put water on my brush, but I've taken the excess off, and then I'm going to dip into two different colours. So I'm going here for fairly sticky paint and not allowing a load of water to get on the brush. And let's go on the other side with yellow. Now I hope you can see that I've got both yellow and pink on the same brush. And now I can apply that colour. I've got a slight gap there. I can go over it again if I want to get rid of those gaps. Can you see how pretty this looks? This is often used by craftspeople when folk art painting to make flower shapes. And look how amazingly effective that is. If you are enjoying this video and you're getting some value from it, can I ask you for a favour? Can you please quickly click that like button, that thumbs up? YouTube rewards channels with audience interaction. My channel at the time of filming this is almost at 25k subscribers. I'm so grateful to all of you. If you can like, share, subscribe, or even leave me a comment, it will help this YouTube channel to grow. Next up, I'm going to show you a technique known as dry brush. This is another oil painting technique, but it's often done in watercolours too. This is another texture technique. It's useful for anywhere with texture, beaches, pathways, tree trunks. I've even seen it used to create sparkle on water. And the best thing about this technique is the last thing you need is an expensive brush. In fact, the older and more battered your brush is, the better this technique will work. So I've got here one of my oldest brushes and also my most favourite. It's completely wrecked. Look at it, the bristles have actually broken off and there's just this kind of stubby, spiky stuff left. It's so old that it actually falls apart like this. I should probably glue it back together at some point. Now we're going to apply dry brush to the paper, and what this does is as we bring the brush across, it will skip over the little bumps in the paper. Now the paper I'm working on here is a very smooth paper, so this will work best on a rougher paper, but we'll still make it work even on this paper here. Now if you've ever done stenciling on the walls at home, you'll know that you have to kind of bash the excess paint off before you go anywhere near the wall that you're stenciling on, so that you get that nice speckled effect and you don't get loads of blobs. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to put fairly dry paint on this brush and get rid of any excess. So I think I'll use this colour here, which is burnt sienna, so it's a lovely warm brown, and I'm picking up as much colour as I can, but with as little water as I can. That's probably still too much paint on there, so I'm going to get rid of the excess on this paper towel. And now let's see how that's looking. Perfect. Now this is another texture technique, but also using that upwards and outwards motion that we learned over here, whereby the brush strokes get finer as you lift the brush off the paper. You can also make animal hair with this technique. I can layer it, so I've got some grey now, and I can go over the top. So this is not just good for hair, this is great for beaches. I've even seen people do it with dark paint on light paint to get the impression of sparkle on flat water. Next up is not really a brush stroke, but we are going to use a brush and we are going to apply the paint to the paper. There's going to be a gap in between, so we're going to be splattering, and for this we're going to use an old toothbrush. I'm going to show you a way of doing it that will get the paint onto the paper and not onto your clothes or the walls. So splattering is very popular at the moment in watercolour painting. I'm going to show you two different ways of doing it. Now if you want large splatters, almost drips, then you're going to use your round brush, and I'm going to dip in to some paint. I've got the pink again, and what I'm going to do is tap. Now you can see you have very little control over where this goes, except that it'll vaguely go down towards the paper. But it's quite a nice effect. It can be somewhat overused in paintings. I hate to see it where people have just painted an animal and put a load of drops on top like this because they've seen some kind of professional artist do it. It can look just a bit artificial, but that's not to take anything away from the fact that this is still a really interesting technique. Now when I do splattering, I like to do it differently. I like to do it with a toothbrush because I'll get a much more fine, delicate, controllable splatter with my toothbrush. All I'm going to do is dip into a little bit of water. I'm going to pick up some grey paint. Again, if the brush is too wet, I can dab it a little. What I need to do now is get my thumb and draw it backwards. If you have something like arthritis, or if there's any reason why you cannot bend your thumb in this position or cannot manipulate your fingers properly, all you need to do is to use a flat blade knife like a dinner knife, and you will drag that backwards along the bristles. Now by dragging backwards, and when I say drag backwards I mean like this with the knife, by dragging backwards what we do is we ensure the splatter goes forwards. If we point it downwards, we also ensure it goes down towards the board rather than just randomly landing anywhere. So let's point this downwards and let's splatter. Can you see how you get a much finer splatter with this? Of course you could combine the two methods of splattering. Wouldn't that be interesting? This is an absolutely fantastic technique for pathways, for beaches. You can layer it up with multiple colours. You can even do it with masking fluid to reserve the underneath colour. This next brush stroke is not going to apply paint to the paper, it's going to remove paint from the paper. Now this is not in the case of mistakes, but something that beginners often don't realise is that paintbrush can be used to control the levels of water on the paper, and it can be used to remove paint from the paper. So this is sometimes done when there's too much paint on the paper, but more often it's done to create a beautiful soft highlight. Let me show you how it works. So lastly, I'm going to show you how to remove paint with your brush. Now the important thing to remember here is that you need to dry or semi-dry the brush. Now a brush that's been dried and is dipped into wet paint will act like a vacuum cleaner and suck the excess paint and the excess water off of the paper. So not only can you use it to control water levels, and controlling water levels is at the basis of all watercolor painting, but you can also use it to lift out a really cool highlight. So let me show you how it's done. I'm going to paint a leaf. So I've got that original colour that we mixed here, that original green. I want it to be a bit brighter and have a bit more opacity to it. So I'm going to mix in some of this light Hansa yellow. If you don't have this colour, a similar one would be lemon. And there we've got a lovely bright green. I'm going to make a leaf and I'm going to lift out a highlight whilst it's wet with a damp brush. Now, to be clear, if the paint has already dried and you try this technique with a wet brush, yes, you will lift some pigment off the paper, but you'll also probably leave quite a mark. So it's absolutely best to do this when the paint is still wet. So let's paint my leaf. Doing it really quickly with that nice flat brush stroke. I'm going to clean my brush in water. I'm going to dry my brush, not bone dry, but fairly dry. What I'm going to do now is lift out a highlight. Now, each time I lift out and wipe my brush, I'm actually taking the pigment from the paper and putting it on here, but there's some on my brush too, and I don't want to put that back in. So if I want more of a highlight, what I'll do is I'll just repeat the process, rinse again, dry it again, and lift out again. So really important when you're starting to learn to paint to understand that the paintbrush doesn't only put the paint on the paper, it also quite effectively removes it, and you can make these beautiful soft highlights whilst your paint is still damp. So do let me know in the comments if you found this tutorial useful and if any of these brushstrokes were new to you. And remember, before you go, to pop into the video description, you can get some downloadable PDFs that will help you with your watercolour painting. I've also just launched my Complete Basics Watercolour Techniques course. So if you're ready to take your learning to the next level and really deep dive into some of these techniques like the flat wash technique, and also learn other techniques like graduated washes and faded edges, do click the link in the description. You can find out a little bit more about my painting course there. Now, if you found this video useful, I think you're really going to like the video that I made about choosing your starter watercolour colours. It goes through 10 basic colours that all watercolourists should have in their palette, and they're great colours to start with. It works for any brand. Do have a look at that video right now.